界异世界的通道。
我一定会将那个幻魔的天魔这小子碎尸万段！
再这样下去，大家都会死在这里。
公子小心！
这股气息，似是大宗师。
凡人岂能敌得过神奇之力？
何人胆敢救我？
血迹不止，神魔不死。
Hello guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're checking out the Tales of Herding Gods episode 64 spoiler. This part gets pretty interesting, so I thought, why not share it with you guys? Alright then, let's jump straight into the story. For a split second, even Long Jiaonan hesitated, and that was all it took. The vortex hanging over Heaven Wave City fully opened, twisting into a gateway to another world. And then they came. Heavenly devils poured out like a living storm, each wave stronger than the last, flooding down from the sky as if the heavens themselves were breaking apart. And standing right at the center of it all was the Du Tian Devil King. He stood atop the sacrificial altar, 8 arms spread wide, welcoming the invasion like a twisted host greeting his guests. His voice boomed across the battlefield, shaking the world itself. "Leave our crumbling dark world behind. Come to the new one." And then he laughed, cruel, confident. This world, he said, wasn't empty like Du Tian. It had beautiful women, endless food, and defenders so weak they weren't even worth fearing. Let's trample them. That's when Long Jiaonan saw it. Her father, the man who once stood taller than anyone, crushed beneath the Devil King's feet. Even the dragon he had raised lay motionless on the ground. And as if that wasn't enough, the other cult master level expert was already dead, his severed head dangling high in the Devil King's hand like some grotesque trophy. You could feel the weight hit her chest. Is this it? Is the Dragon Rider sect really finished? There was no time to mourn. The heavenly devils fell from the sky like rain, crashing into the soldiers fleeing in every direction. Qin Mu was blasted straight out of the air, slamming into the ground with a series of hard humps. Before he could even breathe, 6 or 7 heavenly devils dropped around him, cracked earth, rising dust, and slowly stood back up. But Qin Mu wasn't new to this. He'd faced the heavenly devil horde before, roaming the great ruins at night with the village chief, cutting his way through them while searching for Free Care Village. He knew how they fought. Their bodies were monstrous, wildly different from humans, hardened by devil chi. Close combat, strange spells, brute force. Their divine arts were bizarre but rough, nothing as refined as human techniques. So the moment they landed, Qin Mu moved. One flash to the side, knife up, head gone, clean. Another devil lashed out with a scorpion tail, black as ink, whipping toward his neck, too slow. Qin Mu drove his fingers forward, and the junior protector sword pierced straight through the tail before it could retract. With his other hand, he formed the heavenly devil freedom mudra and ripped the soul straight out of another devil charging at him, crushing it into nothing. Then a cow-headed heavenly devil pointed straight at him and shouted in his broken tongue, calling him out, a challenge. Qin Mu grinned. "Come on," he roared back, vital chi exploding from his body as he activated the Overlord Body 3 elixir technique. The cow-headed devil charged, dragging a massive 10-yard-long blade across the ground, sparks screaming as metal scraped stone, and then swung it down in a brutal arc. And right then, boom! A gigantic snake slammed down from the sky, crushing the cow-headed devil into shattered flesh and bone. Long Jiaonan descended with it, her control absolute. The snake's tail swept across the ground like a colossal iron pillar, flattening dozens of heavenly devils in a single motion. Qin Mu didn't hesitate. He retreated instantly. But even Long Jiaonan couldn't dominate the battlefield for long. Heavenly devils kept pouring down endlessly, and despite being 2 or 3 realms stronger than Qin Mu, she was dragged into a bitter, exhausting fight. Qin Mu wasn't spared either. An ambush closed in. Hu Ling-er reacted fast, summoning a roaring tornado around them, but even that wasn't enough. Some of the devils forced their way through the storm, lunging straight at them with twisted grins, and still more came. From far away, the sky looked black, endless dots falling from above, like swarms of flies blotting out the sun, covering the heavens and swallowing the earth whole. You couldn't help but wonder, how do you stop something like this?
Qin Mu swallowed hard. The patriarch said I should clean up my own mess, and you can hear it in his voice. This time, that rule just wasn't happening. Cold sweat broke out across his forehead, because deep down, he knew it. This disaster, way bigger than him. And then, something changed. From the south, lights appeared. At first, just a glow, then streaks, then the entire sky lit up as if dawn had arrived early. The lights moved fast, sweeping across the heavens, and everywhere they passed, heavenly devils started dropping, headless, straight out of the sky. Qin Mu looked up and froze. Wait, those aren't lights. They were sword formations. Not a few swords, not hundreds. Sword groups formed from an uncountable number of flying blades. Millions, maybe more. No one could even count them. And at the heart of those formations, thousands of sword pellets spun like miniature moons, constantly firing off new swords. Every rotation sent another wave of blades screaming through the sky, cutting down devils with wildly different sword techniques, like it was nothing. The scale was insane. Every single sword glowed, and when all that light came together, it was blinding, breathtaking. Just moments ago, the sky was completely black, buried under the heavenly devil horde. Now, the sword groups swept through and the darkness was wiped clean. Corpses rained down like broken leaves. Down in Heavenwave City, the Dutian Devil King finally reacted. His expression twisted and he let out a furious roar. The ritual sped up instantly. Around the altar, hundreds of heavenly devils chanted in devil language, their voices stacking together, feeding on corpses as they forcefully summoned the Devil King's true body. The air shuddered. From the rift between worlds, a massive foot pushed through. Devil flames wrapped around it, burning the sky a deep blood red. Just seeing it made your chest tighten. But the swords didn't hesitate. The massive sword formations shifted direction in unison and screamed toward Heavenwave City. Their scale nearly matched the city itself. And inside the city, the Dutian Devil King roared again, 8 arms lifting at once. Buzz. A colossal black barrier unfolded across the sky, sealing the entire city underneath it. Then came the sound, or rather, too much sound. Countless collisions happened at the exact same moment. The shrill clang of swords smashing into the dark barrier exploded outward, so violent that people's ears couldn't take it. Blood poured from ears. Qin Mu went completely deaf on the spot. Around him, even the heavenly devils dropped to the ground, clutching their heads, screaming in silent agony. Across the river, in Martial Order County, Eternal Peace's soldiers were already in chaos, desperately holding back the invasion. Even from that distance, the impact waves made their heads ring, painful but barely manageable. And then, plop, plop, plop. Heavenly devils trying to cross the river were blasted straight out of the sky, crashing into the water one after another. On the city tower, a white-haired old general stared in disbelief. Imperial Pretessor, a terrifying expert has gone to the opposite shore. The Imperial Pretessor stood at the front, eyes locked on the battlefield. Calm, focused. He's not just terrifying, he said. His strength is close to mine. He's even stronger than the 3 old monsters who ambushed me back then. Duke Wei frowned, watching the sword groups clash with the Devil King's barrier, then glanced at the massive leg of the Dutian Devil King already halfway into this world. Who would summon something like that? Isn't this going too far? Have the southern borders really fallen this low just to win? The Imperial Pretessor shook his head slowly. As long as I'm here, the Dutian
Tian Devil King won't fully descend, and honestly, the one who summoned him did Eternal Peace a great service. He paused, eyes steady. Heaven Wave City is already doomed. This way, our soldiers don't have to die for it. If it were me, I'd make the same choice. Duke Wei let out a long sigh. Imperial Pretessor, this is exactly why they don't understand you, why they say you walk the devil's path. And standing there, watching swords tear through the heavens and a devil god claw his way into the world, you can't help but ask, in a war like this, does the path even matter anymore? The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor stepped off the city tower, smiling as he walked toward Heaven Wave City across the river, like this was just another stroll. He spoke calmly, almost casually. People called him devilish, he said, because he hurt their interests. As for whether he was right or wrong, that wasn't for people today to decide. Only those living hundreds, maybe thousands of years later could judge his merits and faults. And then he added, eyes cold behind that smile, in his view, the people criticizing him were already dead. Yeah, that line hits different. Back in Heaven Wave City, the Dutian Devil King let out a muffled grunt. The flesh on his 8 palms was torn and twisted. The rain of swords was just too much. Even he couldn't endure that kind of pressure. If his true body had fully descended, sure, he could have taken it. But this form? Just a body shaped from wood. Qin Mu's devil voice had summoned him, but Qin Mu was still too weak. The power flowing through him simply wasn't enough to fight the terrifying expert controlling those endless flying swords. And then the Devil King noticed someone, a middle-aged man calmly walking over from the other side of the river. Fear stirred in the Dutian Devil King's heart. He tried to draw out more strength, just a little more, when suddenly a sword light flashed straight toward his face. And wow, what a sword! That single strike carried a depth of sword principles so profound it was almost artistic. Pure killing intent, refined to perfection, like an exquisite painting unfolding before his eyes. To witness something like that, honestly, even death felt acceptable. So he died. The sword light passed. His head, 4 faces, 12 eyes, rolled off his neck. Just like that. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor sheathed his sword and continued walking toward Heaven Wave City as if nothing had happened. Inside the city, the heavenly devils were still clustered around the sacrificial altar. The moment they saw him, they swarmed forward in a frenzy, howling and lunging at him from all sides. But behind them, the massive corpse of the Dutian Devil King collapsed. The black barrier above the city cracked, then shattered, dissolving into nothing. The countless flying swords in the sky suddenly pulled back, retreating all at once into the sword pellets. Thousands of tiny pellets, each no bigger than a thumb, floated in the air, spinning gently, almost peacefully now. Then, from afar, a wooden chest flew in, its lid opened. Tink-thump! Clatter, one by one, the sword pellets flew back inside, filling the chest with crisp, metallic sounds. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor stared at that chest, motionless, as if lost in thought. With no one left to maintain the altar, the terrifying summoning finally stopped. The massive vortex in the sky froze in place, then slowly began to shrink. The true body of the Dutian Devil King, already halfway through, was forced to pull its leg back. From deep in the heavens, an unwilling, furious roar echoed faintly before fading. Outside the city, Qin Mu was staring at the wooden chest too, eyes narrowing. Why does that thing look so familiar? It looked exactly like the chest back in the village smithy, the one filled with silver-colored pellets. Granny Sai always said they were just ordinary pellets, definitely not sword pellets. And Grandpa Mute? No way he was that rich, right? As Qin Mu watched, every last sword pellet vanished into the chest. It drifted down and disappeared into a nearby forest. Qin Mu bolted after it. He burst through the trees and found an old man in plain cotton clothes, a forging furnace strapped to his back. A wooden chest rested in his hand. His face was carved with deep wrinkles, the kind only time and hardship leaves. When the old man saw Qin Mu, he broke to a wide grin. And There was no tongue in his mouth. At that moment, you just know this story was never as simple as it looked.
Grandpa Mute! The moment Kinmu saw him, he rushed forward and wrapped his arms around the old man without a second thought. He tried to lift him up, really tried, but it was like hugging a mountain. Nothing, not even a budge. Kinmu burst out laughing, put in all his strength. Still nothing. Yeah, okay, this was embarrassing. Mute gave two cheerful, ah, sounds and casually set the wooden chest down. Only then could Kinmu finally lift him, spinning him around twice in pure excitement before tossing him down. Mute landed flat on his butt, stood up calmly, dusted himself off, and gave a quick hand signal that clearly said, "You're way too naughty." Kinmu was grinning ear to ear. "Grandpa Mute, why did you leave the village too? How did you end up here?" The questions poured out nonstop. "And just now, what was that? You were insane. Those sword pellets in the chest, did you forge them? Who else came with you?" Mute immediately launched into rapid hand signs, making little ah sounds as he went. He scrunched his brows, pressed his palms together by his cheek like he was sleeping, then suddenly stretched out two fingers and made them walk. His expressions flipped non-stop, changing so fast it made Kinmu dizzy. Wait, slow down, Kinmu laughed. "I can't keep up. Where's Grandpa Deaf? Why didn't he come with you?" Mute looked extremely pleased with himself and signed again. The meaning was simple. He'd snuck out of the village on his own, didn't tell anyone. Kinmu blinked, then smiled. "You don't know this, but I already met Grandpa Butcher and Grandpa Blind. Granny C, too. They've all left the village already." Mute froze a second, then chuckled, clearly amused. He lifted the wooden chest toward Kinmu, gesturing for him to help carry it. Kinmu immediately stepped back. "Nice try, Grandpa Mute. I'm not falling for that again. This chest is heavy. There are thousands of sword pellets in there, right? Your sword pellets are heavy, your chest is heavier, and if I touch it, my shoulders will dislocate and I'll faceplant. I got tricked once before, never again." Mute grinned and gave him a thumbs up. In Disabled Elderly Village, aside from Cripple, Mute was the biggest troublemaker when it came to messing with Kinmu. Suddenly, Mute's eyebrows lifted. He looked past Kinmu. Kinmu turned around just in time to see a middle-aged man walking toward them. The Eternal Peace Imperial Prepacer approached quietly and stopped a dozen yards away, studying Mute. "A person of the previous generation?" he asked gently. Mute responded with a few quick hand signs. The Imperial Prepacer frowned, clearly didn't understand. Kinmu stepped in. "Imperial Prepacer, Grandpa Mute says he's not from the previous generation. He's still considered young." The Imperial Prepacer frowned even more. Not understanding Mute and having to rely on Kinmu to translate clearly bothered him. "Dao brother possesses an extraordinary ability, but what you cultivate is not sword skill." He sighed softly. "I've met people from the previous generation. I've seen countless divine arts and paths, yet I've never seen anything like this. Could Dao brother allow me to experience your divine art?" The Kinmu was stunned. He'd just watched Mute control countless sword pellets, turn them into an endless storm of flying swords, and force even the Dutian Devil King on the defensive, injured no less. Kinmu had always assumed Mute specialized in sword arts, but now the Imperial Prepacer was saying it wasn't sword skill. Then what was it? Back in the village, what Mute taught Kinmu was forging. Hammer techniques. Kinmu still carried a massive hammer everywhere, trained by Mute himself. A thought hit him. Wait, could Grandpa Mute be cultivating hammer skills? Mute grinned and he strapped the furnace onto his back and gently set the wooden chest down. Standing there, he looked just like a wandering blacksmith, someone who'd stop by villages, forge tools for a bit, then move on. That chest didn't look like it stored sword pellets anymore. It looked like a toolbox, meant for hammers, anvils, funnels, iron ladles, things like that. Mute opened the chest and made a few more hand signs. The Eternal Peace Imperial Prepacer's expression stiffened. Slowly, he turned to look at Kinmu, and in that moment you could tell whatever was inside that chest, it wasn't something ordinary at all. Kinmu took a breath and translated, "Grandpa Mute says this skill of his is almost lost to the world. If Imperial Preceptor wants to see it, that's fine. He just hopes you can help find a suitable successor for it someday. The Imperial Preceptor's expression shifted immediately. Genuine respect, no trace of pretense. To willingly pass on the culmination of one's life work, he said slowly. Dao Brothers' breadth of mind far surpasses those sect masters and cult leaders who guard their secrets to the grave. If fate allows, I'll keep watch for the right person. Then Mute opened the wooden chest. Inside were countless sword pellets, each no bigger than a thumb. At first glance, they looked exactly like before, simple, silver, unremarkable. The Imperial Preceptor frowned slightly. Mute just smiled. He raised his palm. And in the next instant, whoa! The sword pellets melted, not heat melted, not smashed, they liquefied, turning into something that looked like water, but also like pure light. It flowed smoothly, glowing softly like liquid starlight. In seconds, the entire chest was filled with this shimmering silver radiance. The liquid light rose up and spread across Mute's body, wrapping around him layer by layer until it formed a suit of silver armor. And now you could see it, strange markings rippling across the surface, rune formations, defensive ones, complex, ancient, alive. Then the liquid light flowed again. It slid off his body and surged upward, forming a massive bell in midair, dozens of yards tall, its walls thin and translucent, like you could see straight through it. As it slowly rotated, ancient characters appeared across its surface, along with images of bizarre beasts, even star maps of the heavens themselves. And then, swoosh! The bell dissolved into light and reshaped itself into a silver dragon that coiled through the air, dragon markings flashing across its scales. The dragon suddenly shot upward and transformed into a long sword, soaring through the sky and unleashing deep, profound sword techniques. Just as quickly, the sword light retracted, and a massive shield descended from above. Before it even touched the ground, the shield softened, folding into a silver umbrella that drifted gently, spinning as it fell. At that point, it hit you. These weren't just sword pellets. They could become anything: weapons, treasures, even the forms of divine arts themselves. The chest didn't just store tools, it stored possibilities. And for Qin Mu, this was his first time seeing it too. Mute had never shown him this, never taught him this, not once back in the village. Even the Imperial Preceptor stood frozen, completely spellbound. Then the liquid light flowed again, shaping itself into a silver boat. Mute tossed the wooden chest onto it, jumped aboard, and turned back with that familiar, mischievous grin. He waved at Qin Mu, and just like that, boom! The silver boat ripped through the air and vanished. Qin Mu opened his mouth to call out to him, then stopped. Some goodbyes don't need words. A moment later, the Imperial Preceptor finally exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath the whole time. Superb, truly superb. To think there's still a divine art in this world I've never seen before. That Dao brother is remarkable. He turned to Qin Mu. Imperial Academician? You know him? Qin Mu answered simply, he's my elder. The Imperial Preceptor froze. Then, could he be from the Heavenly Devil sect? Other than the Grand Chancellor, there's actually such an expert hiding there? He shook his head in disbelief. Remarkable, as expected of the #1 sacred ground of the Devil Path. And honestly, after what we just saw, can you really argue with that?
Qin Ma shook his head. Imperial Preceptor, you guessed wrong. I was born in the Great Ruins. That's my home. That answer actually made the Imperial Preceptor pause. He studied Qin Ma for a long moment, eyes sharp, like he was trying to look straight through him. Then he spoke slowly, meaningfully. So, the Imperial Academician comes from a powerful family, one with deep foundations. Qin Ma froze for half a second, then nodded, a little stiffly. Yeah,
Yeah, sure, if you count a bunch of strange elders in a broken-down village as a powerful family. The Imperial Preceptor didn't push that topic. Instead, he asked casually, almost too casually, "Then tell me, who summoned the devil god?" Shinma didn't even blink. "No idea. I just got here and ran straight into this mess. I was almost killed myself. If anyone's wronged here, it's me." The Imperial Preceptor nodded lightly, clearly not pressing further. "Gu Linaun sent you to lead scholars out for experience. Your destination should have been Lishao." He glanced around. "This is Heaven Wave City. Martial Order County is across the river, 70 miles from Lishao. So why are you here?" Shinma hesitated. "Well, about that," before he could finish, he pulled Hulinger out of his backpack. The little white fox instantly started nibbling her claws, eyes spinning like she was calculating something. Then, ding, her eyes lit up. "We floated down from Surging River," she said confidently. "We ran into danger in Lishao. Remnants of the Great Mountain Sect summoned a devil god, so we escaped down the river. Young master, does that sound good?" The Imperial Preceptor didn't even change his expression. "You may say whatever you like." Then he continued, calm and cold. "In the chaos at Heaven Wave City, countless rebel soldiers died. The one who summoned the devil god actually rendered a great service. I plan to recommend him to the emperor. With that merit, he'd be promoted to at least upper 4th rank." Shinma opened his mouth. Hulinger jumped in immediately. "It was our young master. He summoned the devil god, Dutian, or something like that." Silence. The Imperial Preceptor ignored her completely and went on. "However, countless commoners also died. The sin is equally great. On the battlefield, death is unavoidable, but wiping out an entire city crosses a line. If I praise this achievement, officials at court will accuse him of slaughtering civilians, forcing the emperor to punish him. Once the rebellion ends, old scores will be settled. At best, he'd be stripped of rank and exiled. At worst..." He paused. "I won't say the whole family would be executed, but it wouldn't be impossible." Hulinger immediately clamped her mouth shut. Yep, she knew she messed up. Then the Imperial Preceptor smiled. "So I plan to keep this merit hidden. No name, no credit. Without merit, there's no crime. Imperial Academician, what do you think of handling it this way?" Shinma finally let out the breath he'd been holding. "Imperial Preceptor, you've handled this perfectly." Behind them, Eternal Peace's army finished off the remaining heavenly devils. A few generals approached from a distance. The Imperial Preceptor turned away and said calmly, "Contrarians kill with their mouths, not their hands. Even if you survive them, they'll still exhaust you." Shinma asked, "You've experienced that?" The Imperial Preceptor nodded. "For my reforms, I've already killed countless contrarians, and every time you kill one wave, another rises. Endless. They have no ability, contribute nothing, yet criticize everything you do. Their only skill is scolding." He glanced into the distance. "Do you know what happens if my reform fails?" Shinma hesitated. "I'll be cursed by posterity for 10,000 years, he said flatly. "And even if I succeed, I'll still be scolded for hundreds, maybe thousands of years." His expression dimmed. "I once had a Tao companion who could calm my heart." He paused. "But he's gone, and I miss him very much." And in that moment, standing amid the ruins of war, the Imperial Preceptor didn't look like a legend, just a lonely man walking a path no one else wanted to take. So guys, that was the episode 63 spoiler. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and tell me in the comments which episode you want next. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!